Hello friends, this is Niraj from the ChessPod. Welcome to another video. Today's video is a very interesting one. It's from a personal game of mine, which was over the board a couple of years ago. But the importance of this game is massive because it teaches us a lot about calculation. So there was this very famous player, Bent Larsen, who once said, long variation, wrong variation. And this is the perfect example to show us that. So let's get started. So this is a personal game of mine. I'm playing the black pieces, and my opponent is a strong player from Maharashtra. And this was a very interesting time in the tournament. This was round 8, so we are almost at the fag end of the tournament. And obviously, you are playing for results at this point because we want to go for top places. I was playing black and I just played the move h4. The time situation was pretty bad for me. I had about 98 seconds. I had 38 seconds at this point, but my opponent gave me the extra 60 seconds by thinking in this position what to do. But after some thought, he played the move bishop to c6. Looks very strong. White has this direct threat of going bishop captures e8 and follow it up with rook takes c7. I was a little worried, but I had several thoughts flowing through in my mind. And one of the most important move that has to be calculated for black would be pawn captures pawn. And I was calculating this. So I had very limited time, and let me actually go through the calculations that I had during the game, the stuff that I went through, and then I shall show you the stuff that I missed. So I calculated pawn takes pawn, and the most critical line here for white would have been bishop captures knight, threatening this. And in this position, I looked at three different main variations. So let's have a look at variation 1. I saw g captures f2, and I saw king captures here, and then black can go rook h2 check. White would have to come to f3. Black can go rook g3 check. White goes king e4. Black can come rook h4 check. And just as it seems like black is just completely winning, white pops in this move knight to f4. Black has rook captures e3, king captures e3, bishop captures f4 check using the concept of the skewer. King comes to e2, bishop captures c1. And in this position, in my analysis, I saw bishop captures b5, to which bishop captures b2 was there, rook d7, king f6, and rook takes a7. So I calculated until here, which is about 11 moves, but I wasn't really satisfied with this position because I'm just up a pawn, but it's opposite colored bishops. Plus, white has a very strong pawn on a5, which is pretty advanced. And white has this idea always of bishop e8 and nagging this pawn. So I was a little skeptical about this line. And another line that I actually calculated here was h takes g3, bishop captures e8, pawn captures, king captures, and instead of going rook h2, I calculated the move bishop to g3 check. What does this move actually do? The bishop which is attacked can actually move with a check, and I'm kind of removing him. It just looks like it's winning, but just as I think of this, I saw king f3, king captures e8, that's forced. And in this position, I saw the move rook to c8 check, forcing king e7, rook captures rook, rook captures rook, and rook g1. And just as I was thinking that, okay, my bishop is in serious trouble and I must stop calculating, I asked myself, can I go one move ahead? And I calculated the move rook to d8. But then, just as it seems all is good for black, black's up a pawn. If you capture my bishop, I capture your knight, and probably black is just winning. Just as you think black is winning, white has this move knight to b4. So a very important point I'm trying to make here is, as much as you are calculating your moves, as much as you do not want to be losing a game, your opponent doesn't want to lose the game as well. So you have to be calculating your opponent's best moves. Knight b4 is very good for white. He has the threat of knight c6 and your bishop is attacked. Black's bishop is attacked as well. So this was a little danger for me, and I was not really happy with this as well. So I decided to abort this. Now comes one of the most critical moves that I thought during the game. I thought of the move g2. This is the kind of move that gives you a win right away, or it can lose you the game. When I saw g2, I calculated the move rook captures c7 check. So, white is a couple of pieces up, right? And unfortunately, black can't just go king captures e8, because the only threat in this position is rook h1 check, and king takes e8 allows rook c8 check, and rook takes g8, for which now you don't have rook h1, and if you do this, you don't have the other rook, to come on h1. So this is losing. But obviously in this position for rook captures c7, I saw this very interesting move, king to d8. And when I saw this move, I was like, okay, probably black should be winning. But then I didn't stop calculating. I saw knight c5 check, king captures c7, and unfortunately for me, knight a6 leads to a perpetual check, because if I go king b7, there's knight c5 check, and king b8, there is knight a6 check again. Unfortunately, in this position for king c8, white just goes bishop d7, and I can't escape the perpetual check, because if I go king d8, white has this very strong bishop c6 check. That's a discovered check. And for king e7, white goes bishop captures g2, and this is materially winning for white, because the bishop and the knight just overpower a rook in this particular endgame. Now, after all this calculation, I was not satisfied with any of these lines, because I didn't want to draw. Obviously, I was playing for the win. And I aborted any kind of plan in this situation after bishop c6 of going h takes g3. I just aborted h takes g3 and I went bishop captures a5. After which, for bishop captures e8, I made a fatal error here. I played the move king takes e8 without any thought whatsoever, and I ended up losing the game after the move knight to e5. So that's a different story. But now let's get back to the original position and try to figure out how could I have won the game after the move bishop c6. So I did a lot of calculation in about 98 seconds, the 38 seconds that I had on my clock, as well as the 1 minute that my opponent gave me before he played his move. But I calculated so much, but I didn't calculate the one important winning move that was right there in the position. Guys, if you think you found the winning move, do pause the video and let us know in the comment section. Okay, so guys, if you do think h takes g3 is correct, you're absolutely right. It is the correct move. And for bishop takes e8, we have the move g2. And if white goes rook takes c7, which was what I calculated, to which I said, okay, king d8 is a draw, but I didn't want to draw. But the move king f8. Now, this is move 3 in the calculation, and this is what I should have calculated. King f8, very simple, and it's a small little triangulation. What am I actually achieving here? If white goes rook takes f7, which I actually saw, but black has king takes e8. And now the difference, the entire difference is we have lured the rook to f7, and now the rook can no longer come to c8 and just exchange rooks. So you have a rook to defend, you have the h1 threat to defend against as well, and this position is just completely lost. So after king f8, it would have been curtains. The engines say it's a mate in 9. Probably the only try for white to keep the game alive would have been f4, after which I just have rook h1 check, king f2, and rook takes d1. And this would have been completely winning. I'm up in material. I'm promoting another pawn as well. And yeah, so this is what I missed. Probably if I had to win this game, I had a decent chance at the championship. But it is what it is, and you learn from your mistakes. So Yes, I hope you liked this example that I showed you. And guys, I will be showing you a puzzle now, to which I would love all of you to write your answers in the comment section below. This is the position, and it is white's turn to move. It is white's turn to move. And yeah, it should be easy. All of you guys can set it up on a chessboard ideally and try to figure it out. And please do let us know the answers in the comment section. Take care.